Hi everyone, this is Charles Gaba of ACAsignups.net. This is a shortened version of a video I made last year explaining how the ACA's three-legged stool model works for the individual health insurance market. This version mainly focuses on the two main ACA repeal bills which congressional Republicans came very close to passing last year. First, the AHCA, which was passed by House Republicans, and second, the BCRAP bill, which was nearly passed by Senate Republicans. To clear up the confusion about protecting coverage of pre-existing conditions, the ACA includes these 6 elements. First, guaranteed issue. Insurers cannot refuse to sell policies to someone because they have a pre-existing condition. Second, community rating. Insurers cannot charge people more because they have a pre-existing condition. Third, essential health benefits. Insurers have to include coverage of all 10 ACA benefits with all policies, even if an enrollee has a pre-existing condition. Fourth, minimum actuarial value. With some exceptions, every policy sold has to pay for a minimum of 60% of the enrollee's medical expenses. Fifth, no annual or lifetime benefits cap. Insurers cannot cut off claims payments after an arbitrary cap is reached per year or over an enrollee's lifetime. And sixth, free preventative services. Every ACA policy sold must include services like physicals, mammograms, blood screenings, etc. at no out-of-pocket cost. Last winter, the House Republicans came up with and passed the American Health Care Act, or AHCA. If it had become law, it would have officially kept the ACA's guaranteed issue rules, but it would have allowed state waivers to eliminate and community rating essential health benefits, minimum AV levels, brought back annual and lifetime caps, and might have even killed off free preventative services, although I was never quite sure about that one. This, by the way, is the argument that Republicans are now using to claim that they're protecting coverage of pre-existing conditions, even though the same bill would have also made it stupid easy for states to scrap the rest of these protections. It also would have appropriated funding for cost-sharing reductions for 2 years before eliminating it altogether. It then would have used state waivers to eliminate the cap on maximum out-of-pocket expenses, and also would have killed off the 80% MLR rule. The AHCA would have kept premium tax credits, but it would have also completely restructured the formula, offering subsidies to those earning over 400%, which is good, but also making the subsidies far less generous for most people earning less than that, which is bad. Finally, the AHCA would have eliminated the individual mandate altogether, except not really, because it would have actually replaced it with a different type of financial penalty for not getting covered. A 30% surcharge on premiums for a 12-month period if and when the person did get around to actually enrolling. Oh, and that money would actually go directly to the insurance company's coffers, not the federal government, which I'm not even sure would be legal or logistically enforceable. Many insurance experts are pretty sure that this would have actually been less effective than the current mandate penalty, while simultaneously being more draconian, since the only ones who would end up paying the surcharge would be those who were the most desperate for coverage at that moment. This is what the stool would have looked like if the AHCA had passed. Needless to say, this would not have solved the ACA's problems. Then, the Senate Republicans came up with their replacement plan, called the, and I'm not making this up, Better Care Reconciliation Act Plan, or BCRAP. Seriously. BCRAP would have devastated the blue leg and green leg pretty much the same way as the AHCA would have. The premium tax credits would have been kept here as well, but they would have again been restructured to be far stingier for those currently receiving them, and would have actually lowered the income threshold from 400% to 350% of the federal poverty line. As for the individual mandate, it would again have been replaced, this time with a 6-month lockout period. This would have meant that if you didn't have coverage in, say, January 2020, not only would you have to wait until November 2020 to enroll, your coverage wouldn't even start until July of 2021, which means in theory you could go up to 18 months without coverage. Again, this is what BCRAP would have looked like if it had become law. Congressional Republicans also threw in a couple of other variants. There was the Obamacare Repeal Reconciliation Act, or ORA. Yes, it actually would have used the word Obamacare in the title, which would have gone back to the one-legged stool, keeping all of the carrier requirements, but stripping away both the red and green legs altogether. Then there was the Healthcare Freedom Act, known as Skinny Repeal, which would have eliminated CSR assistance and the mandate penalty only, leaving the rest as is. I'll come back to this in a bit. And of course, in late September, they tried a Hail Mary play called Graham Cassidy, which I believe ended up looking something like this. Thankfully, every one of these eventually fell apart, but it also left the ACA individual market right back where it started, with the tax credits not provided to enough people, and the mandate penalty not quite strong enough to be properly effective. Then, on October 13th, Donald Trump officially pulled the plug on CSR reimbursement payments. CSRs were still part of the ACA, mind you, but due to a federal lawsuit brought on by congressional Republicans themselves a few years earlier, Trump, who had been threatening to do so for months, finally decided to go ahead and stop the monthly payments cold. Trump thought that this would destroy the already somewhat shaky ACA exchanges while deliberately hurting millions of low-income enrollees who rely on CSR assistance. But a funny thing happened instead. You see, unlike APTC assistance, which is paid to the insurance company by the government before the upcoming month, CSR assistance is actually paid out by the carriers to the doctors and hospitals first, and then the government reimburses them for their expenses the following month. Trump did not stop the CSR assistance provided by the carriers, he stopped them from being paid back afterwards. Yes, that's right. Donald Trump has started stiffing contractors who kept up their side of the bargain in good faith. Shocking, I know. But the thing is, the insurance companies are contractually required to keep providing that CSR help, even if they're never paid back for doing so. This left them with two options. One, they could drop out of the individual market altogether, which is what some of them actually have done. Or, two, they can jack up their premiums through the roof to make sure that they don't have to eat the CSR costs no matter what. One way or the other, they're making sure that they will get their money. So, most carriers ended up raising their premiums an additional 15 or 20% or so, beyond what they normally would have, to cover the CSR difference. But here's the thing. When premiums increase, so do the premium subsidies. If the benchmark silver plan goes up 50%, then the tax credits also go up by about 50% to match for most people. The long story short, APTC assistance increased to fill most of the gap left by the CSR cutoff, and in fact made the APTC more generous for millions of people. But it also made the full price premium even worse for those over 400% of the poverty line. That brings me to the latest atrocity being pulled by the congressional Republicans, the tax bill. Along with a whole bunch of other horrible stuff, most of which doesn't have anything to do with the ACA, one thing they're trying to push through is simply repealing the individual mandate by itself without replacing it with anything at all. If this looks similar to the skinny bill which failed this summer, it is. That would have killed off CSRs and the mandate, and Trump has already taken care of the first half of the job, so that just leaves the mandate. Again, most of this nonsense and insanity could be avoided if the GOP would simply agree to at least raise or remove the 400% FPL cap, which actually was a bill already introduced in the Senate back in June by half dozen Democratic senators, which of course congressional Republicans will never do, which is where things stand today. Anyway, I'm Charles Gaba of ACAsignups.net. If you'd like to support my work on an ongoing basis, please become a patron at patreon.com/charlesgaba, or if you'd like to make a one-time donation, you can do so at gofundme.com/ACAsignups. Thanks.